changes everything. It begins with desire, maybe with tension or chemistry, but then it opens into something deeper. Spirit keeps pressing this forward. An unexpected confession is near and beneath all the wanting. You mean far more to this person than you realize. The first image I get is a breath catching in the throat. A pause, someone trying to stay composed while the truth rises behind their eyes. I feel the confession comes when the heart gets too full to keep acting casual. One thing leads to another. A comment becomes disclosure. Disclosure becomes the sentence they were trying not to say. The first card stepping through is the Ace of Cups. And wow, that tells me the confession is soaked in real feeling. This is somebody whose emotions have been rising quietly until they can no longer keep the lid on them. What they feel for you has moved beyond flirtation into tenderness, ache, and longing. Right beside that, I am seeing the devil. And here it feels like magnetic hunger, intense wanting that keeps circling back no matter how much they try to distract themselves. This person thinks about your body, your nearness, the possibility of making love to you. Absolutely. But Spirit keeps making one thing very clear. The desire is not hollow. It is fused to emotion. I keep hearing one sentence over and over. You are not just someone I desire, you are someone I feel deeply. That line carries this whole reading because I think that is what surprises even them. They may have expected chemistry. They may have expected temptation. They may have expected a private fantasy they could manage. But instead, your energy entered deeper rooms. Rooms belonging to affection, to emotional attachment, to that ache where wanting someone and caring for them stop being separate things. The energy around you feels like the Empress, and that tells me your effect on this person is warm, alive, and unforgettable. Your presence feels full to them. They imagine your beauty, your warmth, your emotional texture. You do not feel interchangeable in their mind. You feel singular. That is why making love in this reading does not feel merely physical. It feels like they are craving union, not only release. Then I am seeing the moon, and this is where the hidden layers deepen. So much of what this person feels has been kept behind a safer version of the truth. Spirit is showing me that the coming confession exposes both, not just I want you. More like I want you, and that scares me because it means more than I meant for it to. Another message keeps rising strongly. When I imagine being close to you, it is never just physical that matters, because this is one of the clearest signs that you mean more than they have shown. The fantasies are emotional. They may picture eye contact, trust, softness after intensity, the quiet after closeness where nobody has to perform anymore. That is not surface level desire. That is somebody imagining intimacy as a whole world. And then the lovers comes forward. Beautiful, direct, impossible to dilute. This confirms that the confession is not only about body language or late night temptation, it is about recognition. You have crossed into the part of their heart where choices begin, where the idea of closeness with you carries meaning instead of just heat. So the message opening this reading is this. An unexpected confession is coming because the desire this person feels for you has become inseparable from genuine emotional significance. You mean more to them than they planned for, more than they have shown, and more than you may currently believe. And Spirit keeps whispering one last thing here. Do not underestimate the person who hides feeling behind desire. Sometimes that is exactly where the deepest truth is hiding. Because lust can be admitted more easily than tenderness. Attraction can be joked about more easily than emotional need. But when both live in the same heart long enough, eventually the real confession arrives. And when it does not simply say, I want you. It says, you got under my skin, into my thoughts, into my heart. And now even my desire tells the truth about how much you matter. And that is why the confession feels unexpected. Not because nothing was there, but because what was there has become impossible to disguise. This is not a passing craving. This is someone realizing your name now lives in every layer of their wanting and in every layer of their heart. They hid that truth beneath flirtation, desire, and stolen glances, but the mask is thinning. Now, what reaches you next carries heat. Yet underneath that heat is devotion trying to learn its name at last, with no place left to hide. What I'm getting in this next wave is that the confession does not arrive only through desire. It arrives through the collapse of whatever wall they were using to separate desire from emotion. And once that wall falls, they cannot pretend anymore that this is just attraction, just chemistry, just a passing temptation. They can laugh off and move on from. The first card stepping forward is the Two of Cups, and wow, this tells me the hidden center of all this longing is mutuality. They do not only want your body near them, they want the meeting, the exchange. The moment where what has been smoldering under the surface becomes shared and undeniable. I feel like this person is craving emotional permission as much as physical closeness. They want to feel you responding, choosing, softening toward them. That is why the confession becomes so intimate. It is not, I'm drawn to you. It is, I want what happens when we both stop pretending we don't feel this. And right beside that, I'm seeing the Knight of Cups, which is beautiful because it says the confession carries romance, tenderness, a kind of emotional sincerity that slips out before they can fully contain it. I keep hearing one sentence very clearly. I think about you in ways that are deeper than I should. That line lands right in the center, because it tells me the person speaking knows this has gone beyond safe territory, beyond harmless fantasy, beyond flirtation. You have become personal to them. The energy around you feels like the high priestess, and I love that because it tells me part of why they are so affected is your mystery. The depth in you, the parts of you they have not fully reached, but can sense. Spirit keeps showing me that they do not only want what is visible, they want what is hidden, the softness under the silence, the passion under the control, the emotional truth under the poised exterior. You feel like a whole world to them, and that makes the desire far more consuming. Then I'm seeing the Six of Cups, and this adds such sweetness because there is innocence mixed into the wanting, not childishness, sweetness. They may replay little moments, little looks, little details that made their chest tighten unexpectedly. A memory of your voice, a memory of your expression, a memory of the way the energy shifted between you. Those moments feed the confession. They are part of why you mean more than you know. Another message keeps rising strongly. It isn't only that I want to touch you, I want to feel close to you. That matters so much because this reading is not about empty heat. It is about intimacy, the kind that wants to melt distance, not just ignite it. And then the devil appears again, which confirms the pull is still intense, magnetic, almost impossible for them to switch off. But placed beside these softer cards, it becomes very clear that the obsession is emotional too. They are not only replaying your body in their mind, they are replaying your energy. The atmosphere around you, the feeling of what it might be like if closeness finally stopped being imagined and became real. The final card I'm seeing here is the Star, and wow, that says you live in them like hope and hunger all at once. That combination is rare. That combination is what makes a person confess unexpectedly because it becomes too difficult to hide the fact that someone makes them ache and dream at the same time. So the message in this next wave is this. The confession coming toward you is unexpected because it does not stay in the lane of desire. It spills over into emotional truth, into tenderness, into the admission that you have become a much deeper presence in their inner world than they ever planned for. You do not only stir their body, you stir their heart. And that is what finally breaks the silence, and Spirit keeps whispering one last thing here. What surprises them most is not how much they want you. It is how much wanting you has turned into needing honesty. Because once desire starts carrying real feeling, it stops being content to hide behind jokes, hints, or half words. It wants confession, and that confession is getting closer now. I keep seeing this too. The moment may catch even them off guard. Maybe it comes after a charged conversation, maybe after a late night exchange. Maybe in a quiet pause when the tension gets so honest that it stops being possible to hide behind charm. And when it happens, the truth will sound less like performance and more like relief. Like someone finally setting down a secret they have been carrying in both hands for far too long. That is why it lands, because it is not only heat speaking, it is the heart too. You will hear softness beneath all that fire now. This next part, like the moment before a secret slips out and the entire atmosphere changes with it, not because anyone planned for honesty that deep, but because the feeling has finally grown too large to hide behind flirtation, tension, or distance, what I'm getting now. Strongly is that this person has crossed into a kind of surrender. They may still act composed on the outside. They may still try to keep their face steady, their words light, their timing controlled, but inwardly they are already admitting things to themselves they never intended to say out loud. And one of those truths is this: being close to you, does not feel like a fantasy anymore. It feels like something their whole being wants, body, mind, and heart together. The first card stepping forward is the Queen of Cups. And wow, this tells me your emotional presence has wrapped itself around their desire in a way they did not expect. This is not somebody who only thinks about passion in a detached sense. They imagine tenderness, emotional nakedness, the trust that comes when two people stop guarding themselves and let intimacy become real. They are drawn to the softness in you, the feeling in you, the part of you that makes closeness feel sacred instead of casual. I keep hearing one sentence very clearly: if it happened with you, it would mean something. That line says everything because it tells me the longing is not random, it is not generic, it is not one more passing fantasy. It is specific, it is personal. It is tied to what your energy does to them emotionally. The energy around you feels like the sun, and I love that so much because it tells me you awaken something bright and alive in them. There is joy attached to this attraction, hope attached to it, a sense that closeness with you would not only satisfy a craving, it would open a warmth they have been hungry for too. Spirit keeps showing me that when they think about you, it is never only dark heat. There is light in it, relief in it, happiness in it. Then I'm seeing the Ace of Wands. And yes, the fire is unmistakable. This person imagines the spark, the touch, the intensity, the moment the tension finally has permission to become real. They may replay imagined scenarios with startling clarity. A look, a pause, the first touch, the way the air would thicken if the distance vanished. But because of the cards around it, the passion does not feel cheap or rushed. It feels charged with meaning, like desire that would change them a little if it were ever actually lived. Another message keeps rising strongly. They don't just want to have you. They want to know what it feels like when you fully let them in. That matters, because this is not about conquest. It is about closeness, about being chosen by you in a way, about the emotional permission that turns tension into real connection. Then the Four of Wands appears, and wow, that is such a beautiful layer because it says they imagine atmosphere, not only action, a room, a safe space, a moment that feels held, warm, ceremonial in its own way. I feel like this person's fantasies are not rushed clips. They have setting, feeling, a quiet around them. That tells me again that you mean more to them than they have ever said. They do not picture you as a thrill. They picture you as an experience that would stay with them. And then the Lovers rises, which confirms the deeper truth of all this. The confession coming is unexpected because it begins in desire and then reveals how much real affection, attachment, and significance sits underneath that desire. This person may surprise both you and themselves by how honest they become. What starts as "I want you" may turn into "I feel deeply for you," because the two truths have become impossible for them to separate. So the message in this next wave is this: what they feel has outgrown the safe language they were using before. You mean more to them than you know because the attraction has become braided with tenderness, emotional longing, and the wish for a closeness that feels meaningful, not empty. That is why the confession is approaching. The heart no longer wants to hide behind chemistry when the real story is far deeper than that. And Spirit keeps whispering one last thing here. This person is not surprised that they desire you. They are surprised by how much their desire has become a doorway into feeling, into affection, into vulnerability, into the truth that your presence lingers in them long after the fantasy fades. And that is why the confession keeps forming. Because once someone realizes they do not merely crave your body, they crave the emotional world that opens when you are near, silence becomes harder to maintain. The truth begins leaning toward language, and very soon it may finally speak so deeply. What I am sensing now is this: the confession does not only come because the attraction is strong, it comes because this person has reached the point where even their fantasies are telling the truth on them. The truth is that you have become emotionally embedded in the way they desire, and once that happens, pretending it is only physical becomes impossible. The first card stepping forward is the Knight of Cups, and this tells me what wants to spill out of them is intimate, soft, and much more heartfelt than they planned. I feel like they may start by hinting at chemistry or by admitting they think about you a little too much, but underneath that there is a deeper river moving. They do not only want a moment with you. They want the feeling of being let close, the feeling of being received, the feeling of seeing your guard melt just enough for them to know the bond is real. I keep hearing one sentence very clearly: if I ever had you that close, I know I would fall even harder. That line is everything, because it tells me this person already senses that closeness with you would not simplify anything. It would deepen everything: the want, the care, the attachment, the tenderness, the emotional risk. The energy around you feels like the Empress again. But in a different way than before. Here, your energy feels lush, sensual without trying, deeply feminine or deeply receptive in a way that makes this person imagine more than touch. They imagine atmosphere, warmth, surrender, the softness in your body language, the way your eyes would look if you stopped holding yourself back. Spirit keeps showing me that your presence has become something they crave with all their senses, not just one. Then I am seeing the Seven of Pentacles, and this is important because it says these feelings have been growing quietly over time. This was not one flash of attraction and then obsession. Number this built, layer by layer, thought by thought, glance by glance. I feel like they have been slowly feeding this inner world around you until now it has become almost impossible for them to ignore how much meaning sits underneath the desire. It is cultivated longing. That is why it feels so rich. Another message keeps rising strongly. They picture the tenderness after, not only the heat before. That matters so much because this reading is not about somebody wanting a quick thrill. This is somebody imagining the emotional afterglow, the staying close, the silence that feels full instead of awkward, the way two people breathe differently once they have crossed that threshold, honestly. Then the devil appears once more, but here it feels even more revealing because the obsession is no longer only about wanting you physically. It is about not being able to get away from the emotional imprint you leave on their body. I feel like they can think of you and their entire system responds. Pulse, breath, memory, ache. You have become that kind of person to them. The kind the body recognizes before the mind finishes forming the sentence. And then the card that seals this section is the Ten of Cups, which tells me the confession, when it comes, may surprise you by how deeply it turns toward emotional truth. What starts in desire ends in meaning. What starts in heat ends in heart. So the message in this next wave is this: you mean more to them than you know, because even their most private longing is full of feeling, softness, and the wish for a closeness that would change them. This is not detached attraction. This is someone whose wanting has become entangled with affection, hope, and the secret wish that being close to you might feel like a kind of home. And Spirit keeps whispering one last thing here. This person is no longer asking themselves whether they want you. They know they do. The real realization is this: they want you in ways that expose their heart, not just their body. And that is why the confession keeps moving closer. Because when desire stops being able to hide the depth of feeling beneath it, the mouth eventually says what the body and the heart have already known for a while. You are not just a fantasy to them. You are the one their longing keeps turning tender for. And I keep sensing this. The confession may arrive in a voice that tries to sound playful at first, but then softens without warning. The moment they name the desire, the feeling behind it rushes forward. That is the surprise. Not that they want you, but that wanting you has made them vulnerable, affectionate, and honest in a way they did not expect. Once that truth opens, nothing they say will sound casual again. It will carry ache, sweetness, and the wish to be let nearer than before. What I'm sensing now is that this confession is moving even closer because the person carrying it can no longer separate longing from truth. They have tried to call this chemistry, fascination, temptation, curiosity, but none of those names fit anymore. What they feel when they think of you has become too layered, too personal, too emotionally alive to stay inside those smaller boxes. The first card stepping forward is the Page of Cups. And this tells me the confession may come out in a softer form than expected. There is shyness in it, a tremble in it, a sweetness that almost surprises the person speaking because they may have expected themselves to stay cool, teasing, or only half serious. But Spirit is showing me that once your name enters the emotional center of the conversation, the heart takes over, the tone changes, the pause lengthens, the honesty begins to bloom. I keep hearing one sentence very clearly. When I think about you, it gets emotional fast. That line matters so much. Because this is the difference between attraction that passes through the body and attraction that starts living in the soul. The energy around you feels like the high priestess again, but here it is even more intimate. Your mystery is not frustrating them. It is drawing them inward. They want to know how it feels to be trusted by you, touched by you, emotionally let in by you. I feel that part of the reason you mean more than they realized is because your energy does not feel loud and obvious in a simple way. It unfolds, it deepens, it stays with them after the moment is over. You linger in their system. Then I'm seeing the Ace of Cups, and wow, this tells me that underneath everything, there is real tenderness. The wanting is wrapped in affection. The fantasies are wrapped in feeling this person may be imagining your closeness. Yes, but they are also imagining the emotional surrender that would come with it. The way your face would soften, the way the room would change, the way the moment would not feel cheap or temporary, but strangely important. That is why the confession feels so exposing to them. It reveals that you are not just someone they burn for, you are someone they could actually be moved by. Another message keeps rising strongly. They are scared of how much your softness affects them. That lands deeply because I feel this person can handle desire. They know how to function inside desire. They know how to hide behind desire. What catches them off guard is how much your tenderness disarms them. Then the Four of Wands appears, and this is beautiful because it says they do not only imagine heat with you, they imagine ease, safety, a kind of closeness that feels welcome, mutual. And held spirit keeps showing me that if this person thinks about making love to you, they are not picturing something rushed or empty. They are picturing a space where everything around the moment feels warm, open, almost sacred. That says so much about how significant you are to them. You have entered the part of their imagination reserved for intimacy with meaning. And then the final card stepping forward is the Two of Cups, which seals it perfectly because the truth underneath all of this is reciprocity. They want to feel met. They want the emotional yes beneath the physical yes. They want to know what it would feel like if the energy between you finally stopped pretending and became shared, spoken, and real. So the message in this next wave is this: the unexpected confession is getting closer because this person's desire for you has become inseparable from tenderness, emotional vulnerability, and the need for genuine intimacy. You mean more to them than you think, because even their most private visions of closeness with you are full of heart. This is not only hunger, it is longing mixed with feeling, and that combination is becoming too strong to stay hidden much longer. And Spirit keeps whispering one last thing here. The real secret is not that they want you. The real secret is that wanting you has made them honest about what they feel, honest about what they miss, honest about how deeply they would be affected if you ever opened the door and let them all the way in. That is why the confession has such weight now, because once desire starts telling the truth about love, the voice can only stay silent for so long, and very soon I feel the silence giving way. The heart leaning forward, the words arriving not polished perfectly, but warm enough, real enough, and intimate enough that you will feel exactly how much you mean the second they finally say it. And when it lands, it will not sound casual. It will sound like a heart finally confessing itself. What I'm getting in this last movement is that the confession does not end with desire. It ends with revelation. The real revelation is not simply that this person wants you, dreams of you, imagines closeness with you, or aches to feel the distance dissolve. The real revelation is that somewhere along the way, you became emotionally irreplaceable to them. And that is the part they did not see coming. The first card stepping forward is the Lovers. And wow, this tells me the truth underneath everything has always been choice. Not random attraction, not empty chemistry, not a passing fantasy that happened to glow a little brighter than the others. Number. This is the kind of pull that makes a person realize their heart has quietly selected someone before the rest of them fully understood what was happening. They did not just want you, their spirit leaned toward you. And once that happens, desire changes shape. It becomes deeper, warmer, more dangerous to hide. I keep hearing one sentence very clearly. It was never just physical with you. That line holds the whole confession, because yes, the body is involved. The tension is real. The fantasies are vivid. The wanting is alive, but underneath all of that, there is devotion trying to be born. The energy around you feels like the star, and I love that so much because it tells me you carry something healing in their inner world. Your presence does not only stir craving, it stirs hope. Spirit keeps showing me that when this person pictures intimacy with you, they are also picturing emotional safety, honesty, and the relief of finally being fully known by the one person they cannot stop wanting. Then I'm seeing the Ten of Cups, and wow, that takes this to a whole new level. Because this says what they imagine with you is not only a charged moment, it is emotional fullness. The kind of feeling where desire and happiness stop being separate things. They may not have told anyone this. They may not even have admitted all of it to themselves at first. But your energy has become connected to the idea of fulfillment in them. That is why you mean more than you think. Another message keeps rising strongly. They are not hungry for just your body. They are hungry for the world that opens when you are near, that lands deeply. Because what they truly want is your atmosphere, your warmth, your response, the way your softness changes the shape of a moment, the way your presence makes longing feel almost holy instead of merely physical. And then the Ace of Cups appears, and that is the clearest confirmation of all. This person has feeling they can no longer dress up as only attraction. Love has entered the room, but it is here. The confession coming is unexpected because it begins in passion and ends in emotional truth. It begins with, I want you, and ends with, you matter to me in ways I can't keep minimizing. The final card stepping forward is the World Perfect. Because this says the silence around what they feel is finishing. The old version of the story is ending. The chapter where they could keep this hidden inside the language of desire is closing. So the deepest message in this final movement is this. Yes, they want to make love to you. Yes, they think of you day and night. Yes, the longing is real. But the bigger truth, the one that changes everything, is that you have become emotionally significant to them in a way they can no longer contain. The confession coming is not simply about passion. It is about the heart finally admitting what the body has been trying to say all along, that you mean far more than they ever planned to let happen. And Spirit keeps whispering one last thing here. Some people desire and then forget. Some people burn and then fade. Some people fantasize and keep the feeling on the surface.